Okay. Should be good. Let's continue on.
Dr. Kleiner and my dad are up north at an old missile base. I hope they're still using this frequency. They're trying to help launch a... Ah, here we go. Damn. What now? If I were to... Let me see if I can get it working again. What a mess. This could take a while. Hey, if you have any blinding insights into how to fix this, go for it.
Yoink.
Not sure what I did, but it worked. Now, to check in. White Forest! White Forest, this is Alex Vance. Do you read? White Forest, come in. White Forest, are you there?
Alex! My goodness, is that really you?
Yes, and Gordon too. We're okay. We made it out of City 17.
Alex, thank God. I can hardly believe it.
Don't worry, Dad, we're fine. But something really strange is happening with the Citadel.
Oh yes, we've been monitoring the situation. The raw discharge of the meltdown has been focused into a coherent beam of portal energy.
It's the Combine. They're trying to open another gateway.
Yes, what you're seeing is the infancy of a super portal. If it attains full strength,
It'll be the 7-hour war all over again. Except this time we won't last 7 minutes.
My God. Gordon, what if that's why they were sending so much data from the Citadel? So that...
data from the Citadel?
In the control room, they were feeding huge volumes of data directly into the core destruction sequence.
Magnuson, did you hear that? I'll bet it's the Combine portal code.
Yes, I'm not deaf.
I downloaded the whole packet. They've been chasing us ever since.
Well, of course they have. You see, Kleiner, it's the linchpin of all of their plans.
Well, I can see that. I never said...
Somewhere in that sequence, they would have had to establish a connection with the far side. What you have there, young lady, is the specific contact code for the Combine overworld. Good God. If I'm right about this, and I have no reason to doubt myself, you are carrying the very code Dr. Mossman had hoped to recover. Now, how soon can you get here?
Well, we'll have to get our bearings, but we can
There
definitely...
is no time to waste. We'll need to step up the launch schedule. And now, as soon as you get here with the signature data, we'll encode the satellite and get the damn thing into orbit. Get here as quickly as you can, you two.
Dad? Dad! You're breaking up! Come in! Dad, are you there? Dad! Oh, no.
Remote compliance.
They're still tracking us. We need to keep moving.
Signature imprint. Mandate sublevel restrictions.
Come on, this way.
In this first part of the episode, we're restoring the player's connection to Alex by recalling the sort of collaborative activities you shared with her in episode 1, from combat to collaborative puzzle solving. Notice that as she works to restore power to the transmitter, she's careful not to steal the player's fun by doing it all herself. She doesn't actually solve the puzzle, although she sometimes thinks she has. This adds to her charm and helps her feel more human. Of course, the reason we're doing this is so that you will care when bad things happen to her.
Bad things?
This transmission scene was added fairly late in development, after hearing from playtesters that they weren't sure where they were going or why. Setting up the White Forest base as your goal right away was important in an episode with so many open, free-form areas where players might forget what they're supposed to be doing.
Let's see if they have their audio options there. Wait, why'd that change the the volume there? Stop buzzing. Well, let's just see. Alright, so there's a little hidden achievement in this game. It's not really hidden now because people know all about it. But there's a little gnome guy down here. He's gonna be coming with us the whole game. Okay, good. He's a bit of a nuisance, but I figured I've played this game enough. Why not try again? There's a part later on where he keeps falling out of the car. And I looked and saw how other people were doing it for stream. And I think I can make it work.
I'm on it.
Ow.
Detected automatic medical systems engaged. Morphine administered.
Can wait right there. I haven't had my crowbar. Just
Nice. That did the trick.
alright, we carry
I
him
can
normal.
always count on you to find a way through.
That might be the better option, just in case I eat him again.
Dr. Magnuson has an old rocket up at White Forest. He's been hoping for the day when he could launch a satellite to tap into the old array they set up at Black Mesa. But what was that?
Here's your doggo shade.
Did you hear that?
Stayed there a little too long to be noticeable.
Shh, quiet. We're not alone. Careful up there. I'll keep watch out here. That worked.
Test all good. Alright. Oh dear.
Gordon, there's something snooping around out here.
So I think you can leave him there just a moment.
Oh my god.
Yonk! Both of them gone instantly.
The Alex Vance. What harm has come? Ah, the free man. I am pleased to see at least you are unharmed. But the Alex Vance situation is grave.
The gnome.
Healing
Still
her
there?
will require more than I alone
Yes.
can conjure.
Saved.
Let me summon my kin.
Deagle?
My kin will meet us at a sheltered location beneath the surface. We must move her there quickly. I will stabilize her if the free man will provide us with protection. Let us hurry, free man. Help awaits us in the mines.
From the beginning of Episode 2's design, we intended for Alex to be gravely injured and fall into a coma. However, the timing and nature of her injury changed dramatically. In the earliest version, the player woke to find Alex already unconscious. We wanted the player to be unsure of what to do, but instead this turned out to be merely confusing. In the next iteration, Alex balanced precariously in the train car near the player, only to slip and fall as the train shifted. This was unsatisfying because we have painted Alex as tough and agile. Having her injured in a fall seemed arbitrary and impersonal. We kept trying to add a stronger emotional aspect to her injury, something that would give rise to anger and fear. Around this time, the hunters were coming online, and we were having trouble giving them a really powerful introductory moment. Solving both problems at the same time, we introduced the hunters as the cause of Alex's injury.
Creating the sound of the Vort's call was a refreshing break from scoring huge explosions or the bridge destruction. We wanted something subtle that would communicate the Vort's general nature as well as its specific cry for help. Sometimes it can be difficult to process sounds while still giving an organic quality to the voice. To design a sound that contained a sense of the alien personality without just sounding like another animal call, we found a way to add and process overtones while subtly altering the phrasing of the pitch. The resulting sounds give the impression that the Vorts are in fact communicating among each other with a dynamic dialogue of calls as opposed to speech.
Getting shanked by doggo. Pretty brutal.
We must hasten. Her state is delicate. Use care. Press on, Phoenix. If you are able, I will take her to my kin.
Can never trust elevators. They're loading screens, like hidden loading screens, or they always fall and break. Oh, have you seen Kerbal Space Program 2 though? They announced it. Made by the people that took over Kerbal Space Program. But they're adding like colonies and bases and like a few extra interstellar stuff. They have like a couple dev videos or that they're starting out and it looks really good. I don't know if they're still using, when we still using Unity, because Unity it worked, but it had limitations that eventually got to it. You should totally get it though. Where'd that antlion go? What? Crushed by minecart. What a way to go. There's another tube-in too that I might try to get. Or I am going to try to get, but I don't know if I'm going to do it. But we're basically going into an antlion nest. Colony. And there's these grubs. There's like 211 of them. Last time I did a series tip on it, I was one short based on the achievement tracker.
In early tests, playtesters didn't realize that antlion grubs drop health nuggets, since they tended to pick up the nuggets by accident after squishing the grubs. In early tests, playtesters didn't realize that antlion grubs drop health nuggets, since they tended to pick up the nuggets by accident after squishing the grubs. In order to showcase the feature, we placed a grub on the far side of this webbing. When a player breaks the web, they squish the grub and send the nugget rolling. Most players chase the nugget and naturally understand how to exploit grubs in the future.
The antlion grubs were initially created for Half-Life 2, to visually flesh out the life cycle of the antlions. We never found the right place for them in that game, but as we developed the antlion environments for Episode 2, they were an obvious choice for Resurrection. In addition to their role in the life cycle of the antlion, they provide an equally valuable service in these dark tunnels: light. As the grubs came to life, we made sure that killing them was more rewarding. In addition to the satisfying squish effects, we added the health nugget for ailing players. Soon, we found many players were compelled to squash every grub in the map. It's worth pointing out that grubs also play a role in our dynamic resupply system. The more injured you are, the more health they provide, which allows us to create a consistent level of challenge for players at differing skill levels.
Just not a bug squishing massacre. Oh no. It's like going with Gnome. I don't know if we can get back. Gnome. Oh no. Gotta reload. This is the last autosave.
The
Dude, that's kind of far. I thought I could get back from that. I guess not. Actually, that's not bad. Alright, come with me, sir. Let's smuggle this. Alright, we gotta be thorough in this area. Get every single grub. Save just for good measure. You can witness the massacre over there. Alright, nothing under the water. Wonder if there's one in there. See if we can get an angle. Grenades do I have? I just have one. No. There we go. Well, nothing happened there.
Hazardous chemical detected.
Don't see any there. Let's see. I think he needs a name. Any ideas? Yeah, what do you do with my gnome? Okay. It's okay. Save though. My bitrate been going through the roof a little bit. Looks like it's going up and down. Stream on my end looks fine though. Okay, wait, so I came from here, up in my gnome. Where'd he go? There he is. Okay, I think that's all the grubs.
Hazardous chemical detected.
And once we were friends, now we're just murdering all the antland, all their spawn. Just 'cause I had to get through this area.
You idiot. That's Gordon Freeman. The Vortigaunt said he was on the way. Dr. Freeman, Alex Vance is over here. Vort's trying to patch her up.
I see that.
Freeman. It is well. The Alex Vance clings to the margins. My kin are still some distance away. For now, we must not be disturbed.
Yeah, well, about that. As long as you're down here, Freeman, maybe you can give us a hand. Let me show you how the antlion sensors work.
Some big silo.
Got some supplies over here if you need them. Health and ammo, that sort of thing.
There's so many commentary notes in here. Wonder if I can listen to a few of them right now.
Hey, Freeman.
The breach is a rough earthen tunnel, which many playtesters tended not to notice when the attack began. They felt they had been told to defend only the 3 marked tunnel openings. We addressed this confusion by changing the sequence of antlion waves so that the second attack came through the breach. Players then understood that all 4 openings were vulnerable.
Griggs and Sheckley's comment about not stepping on the grubs was originally intended for comedic effect, and to suggest that, as usual, Gordon Freeman had brought trouble in his wake. However, we found that some players took this comment too literally, and would spend the rest of the level avoiding grubs in fear of spawning more antlions. We experimented for a short time with making this an actual mechanic, bringing in antlions whenever grubs are squished, but this had several negative results. It made the tunnels far too difficult, and cancelled out any benefit the player got from squishing grubs for health. We decided to keep the grub behavior simple and rewarding.
Griggs and Sheckley started off as minor characters who were just used to explain the setup for the turret battle.
Hey, Doc, over here.
Once done, they died fairly quickly, leaving the players alone to fend off the antlion swarms. We found this left players unsure of their defensive strategies and would force them to visually survey the cavern before setting up defenses. So we made the 2 characters stronger and had them yell out their state to players, and even suggest what openings the players should cover. This gave players extra time to set up a defensive strategy before the antlions arrived. This also let us ratchet up the intensity level by slowly heightening their reaction to the threats. Once we realized this worked, we decided to separate the characters and create an Abbott and Costello style team, to do little bits during the downtime the players were using to set up their defenses. We ended up with entertaining character moments that also cued the player on game state and events.
In Half-Life 2 and Episode 1, players learned that turrets will always attack them, unless they are reprogrammed by allies. We needed a new visual way to instantly show that these new turrets are also allies, and decided to hark back to the aircraft nose art of World War II. The elaborate turret design also hints at how bored Griggs and Sheckley must have been sitting down here by themselves. The turret battle design went through many changes. Early stages had the player controlling 3 turrets and not ever having to fight antlions directly. After playtesters complained of not having anything to do during the battles, we changed the number of turrets to leave the player underhanded when in later rounds all the tunnels are active. This creates a better mix of resource management and combat. Later, we added this tweaked version of the hopper mines to give players yet another tool for fighting the onslaught.
We experimented a lot with the ammunition for this level. Originally we had a single ammo crate containing submachine gun bullets, positioned down near the elevator. Playtesters, however, seemed happier using a shotgun in this battle, so we added a crate full of shotgun shells and moved both crates to the top area, so players could easily trade off between different styles of gunplay.
At the climax of the turret battle, we introduced the Vortigaunt in full-on action mode. The player can and should take part in the battle, but we were very careful to make it fairly easy for him to hang back and enjoy watching the forts clear the room of antlions. We wanted to show off the Vortigaunt's new abilities and get the player excited about the role they were going to play as active allies in the struggle against the Combine.
In Half-Life 2, Lou Gossett's voice lent itself to a mystical and mysterious characterization of the Vortigaunt. In Tony Todd's reading for Episode 2, we heard new possibilities for a Vortigaunt who's more of a mystic martial artist. With new attack animations and companion behavior, we worked with Tony to build the Vortigaunt into a powerful ally, a full-on alien ass-kicker.
Every Half-Life game so far has started with Gordon Freeman weaponless. Assuming some players had just played through Episode 1, while others might not have played it at all, we had to decide how long we should spend parceling out new weapons and providing adequate time to player practice with each one. In this case, we decided to hand the player a number of weapons all at once, figuring most would have mastered their gunplay in previous episodes. We held off doing a lot of deliberate training until we began introducing newer modes of combat later in the episode.
I was supposed to see Vortigaunt do a roundhouse kick.
This sensor will light up if an antlion's coming down this tunnel. More lights mean more antlions. When a tunnel lights up, we move a few turrets in front of it. Pretty simple, eh, Doc?
Hey, Doc. On your way here, you weren't followed, were you?
Don, listen to him, Doc. We're on edge because this place is riddled with antlions.
The Vort says as long as we don't step on their grubs, they shouldn't hear us this far from the nest.
Yeah, well, that's a theory I'd rather not test. We're down to our last 2 turrets. And even these are held together by baling wire and duct tape at this point. Nice to have them in a pinch, but I wouldn't exactly trust them with my life. Hey, Griggs, you might want to show Dr. Freeman where we keep the supplies, huh?
Oh, yeah. Down there by the Vort. Everything you need for doctoring. They're coming. One light.
Let's move. We have to defend the Vort.
Nice one, Sheckley!
Hey, Doc, you ever seen an antlion before?
I was the brewmaster.
Over here, Sheckley!
We got the breach.
We'll be okay as long as they stick to one tunnel.
Dr. Freeman, you take care of the turrets.
Cover me, Shaq! I'm getting the hang of this. No offense, Freeman, but things were pretty quiet until you showed up.
Typical.
Swarm at 24!
Come on, let's go!
I'm coming! Let's go, Jack!
Come on, try to keep up.
Let's just stay here. We got 36.
You handle 12, Doc. Hey, you see a bug on me, how about you try to get it off next time?
I didn't see it.
Yeah, no, sure. They're only like 5 feet tall.
Church is doing all the work. We got close.
Check.
What?
Sheckley.
What?
Forget it.
We got the breach. Hey, Doc, you cover 24.
Oh, God, they're coming from everywhere. More than 12.
Oh no. The Breaching the breach. They could use a turret with them.
10. Yeah, well, we all got 10. There's hundreds of them. Hey, Doc, you cover the breach. There are 12. We got 24.
The turret battle design went through many changes.
He says we're gonna need that turret. Okay.
There can't be many more. What the hell makes
I'll take a long look after the waves stop. Okay, am I covering too?
This must be bigger than we thought! Two lights! We can't hold out much longer! We'll take 36! Got to watch all the tunnels, Freeman! We can do this, right, guys?
Switch 22, I think. Turrets.
Last turret just broke.
It's like a Waxanobi NM 50 Neatum.
I think we misunderestimated! Get ready! Oh God! Get ready! 3 lights! This is gonna be bad! Hey! It's the Force! They made it! Yeah! I was trying to save you, Chef!
Freeman. Our delay. Regrettable. We killed many antlions. Yet many more remain. We must attend to reality's facts. There is no time. More antlions approach. We shall quiet them.
They have hand claws too. says mine of victory.
We have exhausted their immediate number.
Seems appropriate.
Now to the next matter of urgency. Her injuries are grave. This will necessitate deep submersion into vortices. Indeed. We require the larval extract. Oh, yes. The extract. Yes. Agreed.
I will make the journey to seek the extract, deep within the nest, in the sacred nectarium. But I cannot hope to bring it back alone.
We must remain to keep the Alex Vance alive. Please, Freeman, join me. Yes, take Freeman. Yes, there is no finer companion. Well stated.
Now, I wonder if I leave the gnome there.
Better get
Still
moving,
be
Doc.
there?
Follow the Vort.
Seriously, Freeman, you need to get going.
Spoilers, I think the elevator doesn't let you out after. So, take him with me, be safe. Yeah, just take your time.
In the prototype for this level, the Vortigaunt cleared the way by blasting apart a rock pile. After a new model was created for the generator, we decided to exploit the Vortigaunt's natural relationship with electricity by having him charge the generator much the way he charges Gordon's suit. We were then able to use generators as Vortigates throughout the level to indicate areas the player could only enter with the Vortigaunt's assistance.
One of the three main themes for Antline areas, the mines were a plausible setting for light sources, mechanical obstacles, and resupply. Visually, the mines offer good contrast to the natural cave areas and the more organic spaces the worker antlines have carved out with acid secretions.
This body is yours to command. Lead on.
After we learn how to squish grubs, we're bad squishing them. You heard him right. Body is money man.
The inline web stacks, grubs, and workers show off a new illumination shader we developed especially for this level. We began with concept art for the web stacks, modeled those, then added the material parameter that allows the model's self-illumination to be modified based on the angle at which the player views them. The end result is an object that looks lit from within by a weird volumetric light.
Where did Gnome go? There he is.
Finish them, Freeman. Mine have disabled. Now attack.
Get him, Vortigaunt. Okay. Gnome's still safe?
We wanted players to work cooperatively with the Vortigaunt just like they did with Alex in Episode 1. We didn't want to make the Vortigaunt too powerful or he might take away from the player's fun, but we also wanted him to be a good ally to have around. One solution, shown in this scene, was a shock attack where the Vortigaunt would stun a group of antlions so that the player could finish them off.
The antlion experience in Half-Life 2 was characterized by a mindless, constant onslaught of bugs rushing your way. We devised the antlion worker for Episode 2 as a way to add depth and variety to the underground sequences by leveraging new types of gameplay. Unlike normal antlions, the worker chooses to avoid direct confrontation, skulking in the background and lobbing acidic globs from a distance. This extends the amount of time players spend with each creature. By contrast, an encounter with an ordinary antlion is over in seconds. The spitting behavior was derived from the bull squid of Half-Life 1, but was updated to fit the more physical world of Half-Life 2. To that end, the spit globs are not merely sprites, but physically simulated objects, flying through the air along realistic trajectories.
That was an easy one to miss.
This cave was originally designed with a pit in the middle, so the player could punt antlions into it with a gravity gun. In playtest sessions, however, very few of our playtesters actually used it in this way. The pit stayed in the room, but we changed the path to allow the player to descend into it and come back out.
Texturing of these caves provided a couple of significant challenges. We had never made such a large-scale area completely out of displacements before. The convoluted topology of the surfaces made them especially hard to UV map without unpleasant-looking seams and texture warping. After some early attempts, we decided that we were not going to be able to map this area using conventional UV mapping, so we decided to write custom shaders especially for the caves. Our custom shader combines multiple axis-aligned projections based upon the surface normal. This largely fixed our problems with stretching and seams. Since we wanted to provide dramatic lighting in these areas, particularly when lit by the flashlight, we augmented the source engine's radiosity bump mapping with a new piece of technology. This allowed us to create a form of bump maps in which the bump map surface details actually cast soft shadows across the surface. This emphasizes the surface bumpiness, especially when the light is at grazing angles.
He almost knocked that out of my head. Well, he did knock it out. We gone flying into that pit. But before that too, like it was just dropping randomly. I was holding it. It just like slipped out of his hands or something. The worst spot too. Oh no, where'd I put it? You right? Whew, okay. Dude. Steady. I think we got them all. Save that near disaster of a room.
The antlions are keen to our presence. Expect ever greater resistance as we proceed.
The Vorgon keeps running into me.
Caution.
Oh no, my gnome. Okay, it's good. I feel like I still hear one.
Can we be of service? Such somehow sadden me.
Turning the Vortigaunt into an expressive character was a challenge for animators, given that he doesn't have what you call a traditional face. To bring out his personality, the animators concentrated on shifting body weight and broad hand gestures. Most importantly, where human characters tend to move their heads a lot for emphasis, we concentrated his performances on expressive spinal motions.
Tether is cut.
So if he curves into a W? I don't know. There's only male for Vortigons. What do you mean by curves? Nice. Oh, I see. Well.
I am confident the Freeman will find a way to open that gate so that we may proceed together.
Alright, watch over after the gnome.
Wherever possible, we try to mine our robust physics engine as a source of novel puzzles. It's especially valuable for giving realistic feedback to the player solving the puzzle. In this scenario, we designed the elevator to sink slightly whenever the player steps on it, giving instant intuitive feedback that it reacts to weight. This made it far more likely that the player would understand that he was dealing with a counterweight puzzle.
A puzzling predicament of the sort which the Freeman is famed for swiftly solving. I will observe with great anticipation.
Watch over him. Oh. Go too fast. Definitely missed some grubs there. third. Oh, there we go. Just because there's a grub over here somewhere. Put all this back on. Stays. Any grubs hiding? Nope.
We like to lull players into a trance, then startle them. Here, we convince players they are expected to explore and solve puzzles for a long time. Then we abruptly change the mode of gameplay by throwing grenade-lobbing zombies at them.
Okay, and here we gotta turn on the elevator, but put weights on it so it doesn't go up. They had like no physics puzzles in episode 1. No. Not heavy enough. Dang. Just let gravity do the work there. Alright, Gnome's okay.
The Freeman is an invaluable companion.
Save.
Pity the generator that requires a Vortigon to operate.
Whenever possible, we try to give the player a glimpse of their eventual goal, even before they realize it is their goal. While we try to design such moments intentionally, sometimes the opportunities present themselves. In this case, while setting up the gag where the rail car slides into the abyss, we opened a hole in the wall and discovered a view of the distant thumper. It became clear that we could tailor the view across the giant cave to foreshadow the spot where Gordon would eventually end up.
fast mover.
I think you will be very glad you saved those crates.
Dude. Do your thing.
Return to the void.
Oh, just got straight up. Squish the grub. There's a grub right here, wasn't there? I think he ran it over. Gnome is over there. That's weird. The picture for picking up grenades is broken for some reason. Shade, calm down. Calm down. He's just look at that face. Just remember the face. Remember why you're not interested. What the boot you up here?
What next in the parade of constant
Look, he can't even climb a ladder.
Fear not, Freeman, for I follow.
Thought I pushed this somehow. Oh, there he is. What's he doing? Oh. Sure. Gnome first. Okay.
Fear not, Freeman, for I
No. We lost the grip. There he is. But you heard all that crashing and it's just like, well, he's dead now. Got you that far at least. Just in case there's a weird load thing. Save there. Looks like everybody there. What?
No pit would be complete without a Freeman coming out of it.
No. Move. There we go. Save bullets. Leaving them there. Get past that face. Rule 34. Miss these. Save. Save one for Solaire. Suck his brains out. Your wiggling does nothing. Kill. So many to miss. Okay. Is that Full Metal Jacket? Good little montage there. Good Creed. Oh my gosh, we can actually hit that. Bring out my pistol.
Behold, across the chasm, that immense repellent device promises to cease from endless anti-attacks. If the Freeman is in agreement, let us find our way to that vibratory haven.
Vibratory haven. Vibratory?
A vibratory device. These are most effective at the Freeman.
Alright, hopefully you'll be okay here for a bit. You deal with those. Shade, you can post in my Discord if you want. That's pretty damn funny.
Pass on!
Yeah. You good? Get the gnome again. Here. Dude.
So you have summoned the lift. Freeman, beware.
Oh wow, one shots the zombies. What does this say? Same as the other? Mine of victory? Wait, did he? Gnomes. Oh, that ground slam. My gnome! No! What happened to him? Stop. Hold on to the whole time.
Go on alone. I will join you. Turn to the boy.
The Vorticon's Dispel attack is a radial explosion that takes out a swarm of antlions. It looks most impressive when seen from above, but that's not a perspective the player gets very often in the tunnels. We designed the exit from this battle purely to give the player a view from above so the Vort could put on a show.
Observe how they fight on below, heedless of our escape. Well, this is all very amusing, but we must not forget the gravity of our errand to heal the unexpected.
Originally, this room came directly after a long stretch of combat with antlions, and opened up into more of the same. Players who opened the door were faced with another swarm, which they were expected to clear with a whole bunch of handy grenades. However, most playtesters were fairly tired of antlion combat at this point, so we decided that a complete break from antlions would be an even better alternative to blowing up more of them with grenades.
Get your belly arm out of my face.
The ancient retrieving the extract may not be unchallenging. The Guardian's presence guarantees an end of larval clusters. They are commonly posted near the young.
A glimpse of the Antlion Guardian in this level sets up anticipation for the more extended confrontation in upcoming areas. The player needs to know what he's getting into so that the Vortigaunt's warnings will all make sense.
I see you too appreciate the larval pellet's properties.
That seems the more right way to go.
For most of this episode's development, there was a counterweight puzzle in this area, one the player had to solve while under attack by antlions. Although it was a clever puzzle, we felt the underground experience was already long enough, so we removed it and streamlined the path to the nectar. Having too many obstacles made it hard to keep up the sense that recovering the nectar was an urgent task.
Just hold it on dear life. It's not useless.
Below bears the scent of extract.
Although I agree.
Stuff we seek lies at the bottom of this pit. This shaft connects to the chamber above, where my kin sustain the Alex Vats. Once we have the extract, we can rejoin them quickly, provided we can restore elevator functions.
township. But how? How shall we descend?
Until we added the wooden landing here, players were very reluctant to jump down into the elevator shaft. Some playtesters went all the way back to the previous level looking for another way down. In the days of Half-Life 1, we depended on players jumping willy-nilly down every elevator shaft they encountered. But over the years, they've learned to be afraid of the things we tend to put down there.
Yeah, he is a much bigger pain, or combat-wise.
Bravely done, Freeman. When you reach the lower chamber, you must find a way to summon me. Remember, do not kill the Guardian, or the extract will be ruined.
Killed the Guardian? Oof. This looks pretty monk-ass here. I'm gonna slide all the way down. Hey, he made it. Gotta let my oxygen go back up. Gnome, come here. Sliding away.
One of the major graphical enhancements we made to the source engine for Episode 2 was the addition of shadow mapping for the player's flashlight. This allows the flashlight to cast soft, dynamic shadows into the world, adding realism and drama to the scene, particularly in dark underground areas like this one, in which the use of the flashlight is required to navigate the space. As you move around, notice that all objects in the world cast and receive realistic shadows from your flashlight.
Goopies. save. That's where we were. Yeah.
Early versions of this area had serious problems. It was brutally punishing and unfun. We were trying to make an experience about timing and tension, but playtesters perceive this as another boss battle. But without physics and explosives, there's no way to kill the Guardian. They would empty all their ammunition into him and die horribly over and over before giving up and running away. They hated it. Our first solution to this problem was to add an arena immediately before the maze, where we hoped players would use up most of their ammo and on headcrabs and barnacles and not even try to shoot them. But clever players managed to lure the headcrabs into barnacles and rush past while the barnacles were feeding, arriving in the Guardian's lair with plenty of ammunition and again, the false impression that they could kill the boss. In the end, it was necessary to have the Vortigaunt tell the player, "Remember, do not kill the Guardian or the extract will be ruined," therefore justifying why you wouldn't be able to do what we didn't want you to do and what you couldn't do in the first place. This area is really fun now. The battle is almost exactly like the original layout. The big difference is that we're communicating our expectations to the player, rather than having them learn by dying.
Alright, the problem here is when I'm holding the gnome, I can't run, or I can't sprint.
In Half-Life 2, the Antlion Guard was originally meant to be a sort of superbug bloodhound that pursued the player through caverns and harassed him while he slipped into small spaces to hide. While we never realized that design in Half-Life 2, this scenario is, for the most part, exactly what his original design sought to accomplish. Over the course of many years of production on various titles, we found that ideas often go away into the ether for years or more, only to resurface and thrive in a new game environment. Even failed prototypes can flourish down the road.
Before we simplified the path through the Guardian's lair, we allowed a right turn at this junction, leading the player right back to where they began. One of our playtesters continued to repeatedly turn right here for half an hour. That was a compelling argument for removing the maze-like elements.
Because he had one dumb playtester. Oh, Valve. Wait. Let's double check there's no more gross. Rip.
In Half-Life 2, the Antlion Guard was originally meant to be a sort of superbug bloodhound that pursued the player through caverns and harassed him while he slipped into small spaces to hide. While we never realized that...
Think I missed one? Oops. After I exit tunnel. Whoa. Clip into the map here.
Before we simplified the path through the Guardian's lair, we allowed a right turn at this junction, leading the player right back to where they began. One
Oh no.
Detected automatic
The antlion tunnels, carved out by worker antlions using their acid secretions, make up the third of 3 subterranean spaces with a distinctive visual style, man-made mines and natural cave formations being the other 2. The presence of crawl spaces was dictated by game design, but they evolved into chambers that fit logically within the life cycle of the antlions. Here, the young grubs can develop and feed in safety, although, conveniently for the player, they cannot digest useful items such as health kits.
Oh, hey. Well.
One change we made to Episode 2 was to decouple the flashlight power from the suit power. Playtesters constantly had their flashlight on during the guard chase sequence and were unable to sprint to safety because the flashlight drained their suit's sprint ability. We wanted players to be able to outrun the Guardian with their flashlight shining. Sometimes we are forced to make trade-offs between conventions we've established in earlier installments and gameplay we need now. It would be silly to not have cool-looking underground passages just to keep flashlight behavior consistent until the end of time. As for the rationale within the story, players might assume this new feature was apparently the result of damage sustained in the train crash.
So new feature by banging on it. Got it. It's like a bang on a TV that's not working. Oh, okay. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Maybe.
In earlier versions of this map, the tunnels here were more maze-like, with branches, loopbacks, and dead ends. After watching numerous playtesters get lost, it became obvious that they were not having fun. We simplified the paths and added a number of one-way choke points. The curving tunnels still keep the player in suspense, but as long as he keeps moving, he'll continue to progress, with very little time wasted in retracing steps.
Oh, something open there. Oh.
In early versions of this map, the player was allowed to drop straight to the bottom of the shaft. Nobody ever saw the Guardian break through the boards. Therefore, we added a small floor area and required the player to turn around to break more boards, making it much likelier that players would see the Guardian's attack.
I like how that worked. Just had to chuck them in there. Random medic down here? Ooh, big bad. No, where'd you go? Oh, you're on tracks.
One of our toughest jobs is tuning for difficulty. There are all kinds of ways that sloppy game design can make players miserable when they're supposed to be enjoying themselves. If the player is laughing as he dies, it's a good sign. It means the death is perceived as part of the entertainment experience, that the player died fairly and not as a result of poor design. But if the playtester is beating his head on the keyboard, we usually take this as a sign that there's still work to be done.
No gnome should be faltered behind.
At various times in development, this gear was loose in the environment, tucked in a dark crevice, hidden in a small box, or lost in the bottom of a flooded pool. One playtester, unaware of his low health, actually drowned in 2 feet of water while retrieving the gear.
What?
We realized that attaching the gear to a chassis identical to the engine motor was the best way to help the player make the connection between this gear and the empty space on the other assembly.
This puzzle proved surprisingly difficult for many players. In an earlier version, not only did you need to find the spare gear, but this elevator was connected to a disabled generator that wouldn't operate until you also attached a crank and jump-started it with the gravity gun. Although it sounds simple, most playtesters got stuck here for many minutes. We kept simplifying until we hit the version you see here.
I feel like you get playtesters that never played Valve games before. Which, I mean, it makes sense, because, you know, there's going to be people like that, but... Good, I had a feeling I was missing something. Okay. I wish it still, like, kept count on the achievement. How many we got. This was... It was like my second playthrough, or may have been my first playthrough actually, where I killed all but one grub and tracked it on the achievement, and then probably tried again a couple times, but then always just one I missed or something. Gnome, you're here still, right? Gnome, gnome, gnome. Oh, jeez. Okay. Okay. I think... You can leave him right there.
I descend. Abide a moment longer, that we may proceed together. Has done his task magnificently. The scent of ride fetch beckons. Follow while I track to the source. You have done the hardest work amid entries to this chamber. Truly, the life of Alex Bass is in able hands. Yes, forward.
Dude, I left him in the most safe spot, that little corner, and he managed to kick it. Let's go more safe.
Such quantities of larvae, such a heavy roller. Tur, langer, charger, excellent. A bounty of larval extract. This should only take a moment. Secretions of the finest quality. Let us return now to the other sands.
We had wanted to implement a generalized particle system for quite some time, and after episode 1 we set out to create one. In previous Half-Life games, each effect had been hand-coded by a programmer working with an artist. It was effective, but not easily scalable. Our new system drew upon the aspects we found most useful from team members who had worked with both real-time systems in games and offline renderers for movies such as The Lord of the Rings. The results were an artist-friendly, modular, component-driven system. Each system can have renderers which display the particle in some form, initializers which set up certain properties of the particle, operators which carry out actions upon the particle each frame, constraints which provide movement limitations such as collision, forces which impart complex dynamics, and emitters which determine how each new particle is created. Together they are plugged into a system as needed to be as lightweight or as complex as required for the effect. Each individual component is simple, but when combined can create rather complex dynamics. Furthermore, adding additional components to support the specific needs of a game or a mod is easily done. The results can be seen in everything ranging from the simple glows of the larval extract here, to the citadel effects, blood, smoke, hunter effects, portal effects, fire, and so forth. Dynamic effects are now in the hands of the artists, who can use them to create whatever is needed, from unique one-offs in specific levels, to generalized effects for gameplay.
When the Vorticant discovers the extract, we wanted to do something to distinguish the nectar from all the other glowy alien substances that we've seen in the caves so far. Therefore, we had him perform a bit of a chant and had the extract give off a show of its own.
Interesting.
Some traits we thought innate to Vorticine. Vorticine husbandry was once our ancestral practice. The creatures exude many valuable compounds. The extract is the most prized by far. It dissolves the false veils that divide the vortessence. All this you shall witness when she ebbs. If we lose her, we lose all.
It is dripping.
Behold, the extract. Miraculous secretion. Make haste. Join now as we imbibe the extract. Yes.
Do I leave it there?
A human is needed. Agreed. Join us, Freeman.
One of the most significant story meetings we had near the beginning of episode 2 concerned how much we were going to reveal about the G-Man. Once we'd decided exactly how much to explain, we had to come up with a way of revealing it. Alex's healing sequence offered the perfect way to pull Gordon out of mundane surroundings and put him in a realm where the G-Man can speak to him directly, but dialogue is only one of our tools for narrative. By blending images from the past, the present, and the immediate future, we continue to stitch together the Half-Life story over time.
We make clear that the events at Black Mesa continue to resonate, and we draw the strongest connections yet between Gordon, the G-Man, and Alex and Eli Vance.
We sometimes use sounds to set a mood rather than to literally underscore the on-screen action. The G-Man sequence you just saw, for example, relies heavily on the use of abstract and ambient sounds. We wanted the soundscape to have a deadened, internalized quality that you get from putting your hands over your ears. So we started with recordings from inside the womb. If you listen closely, you can hear the internal gurgling noises as well as muffled heartbeats. We then added various other effects around the rhythm of the heartbeat, plus long-tailed reverbs. None of the door or transition effects are literal interpretations, but are obscure metal and feedback sounds created to work in sync with the observable actions. So all of these things contribute to the scene's dreamlike quality.
So yeah, in comes G-Man.
We weave the Freeman's life with hers. Yes, there is a quickie. Hopes for this bond between you.
Dr. Freeman. I realize this moment may not be the most convenient for a heart-to-heart, but I had to wait until your friends were otherwise occupied. There was a time they cared nothing for Miss Vance, when their only experience of humanity was a crowbar coming at them down a steel corridor. When I plucked her from Black Mesa, I acted in the face of objections that she was a mere child and of no practical use to anyone. I have learned to ignore such naysayers when quelling them was out of the question. Still, I am not one to squander my investments, and I remain confident she was worth far more than the initial appraisal. That's why I must now extract from you some small repayment owed for your own survival. See her safely to White Forest, Dr. Freeman. I wish I could do more than keep an eye on you, but I have agreed to abide by certain restrictions. Well, now listen carefully, my dear. When you see your father, relay these words. Prepare for unforeseen consequences.
She stirs. Her vocal form has regained integrity. We have a very immeasurable loss.
Oh, God.
Lie still.
Oh my God. I thought for sure I was dead.
The Combine hunters caused traumatic injury.
A hunter. So that's what it was.
We knit shattered bone and restored circulatory integrity. Yet it was a free man who retrieved your vortessence.
Yeah, that's Gordon. How long have I been out?
A matter of hours.
Hours? We've got to get moving.
A moment longer.
But we have to get to White Forest. It's vital.
No fear. We will put you on the right road. Now, try carefully to rise.
Whoa. I don't know what you did, but I have a feeling I'm lucky to be here.
Come then. I will get you on the path to White Forest.
Come on, Gordon.
We
Next
will
to me.
continue our hunt for
Oh no.
advisors.
The gnome.
Farewell. Go safely.
Oh.
Well.
Good luck out there.
Punch me in the face.
Be adequate. What the hell does that mean, anyway? I don't know. Sounds like something the Forts would say.
You see it clip out of the elevator.
I think I can walk on my own now. Let me give it a shot. Yeah. Stiff, but I think I'm okay. I really consider working on Alex my acting school because it has stretched me, it has made me go deeper in my work, it's sharpened me up as far as being able to call in emotions or really just imagination. A creative spirit is really just a lot of imagination, I think. And afterwards, I always seem to be sharper in everything I do. I always have a good show at night, or I always go on to the next job with a heightened awareness or a heightened presence. And it's only helped me. So thank you, Alex, for that.
Cool. She's like a pretty neat person. Wonder what else she's been in like since Half-Life, if anything.
Whoa! That was a guardian. Somebody must have done something to piss it off.
The Guardian is enraged over our theft of the extract. If it tries to hinder our progress, we will have no choice but to kill it.
You messed with its eggs? Oh, no wonder it's mad.
She has? I'll have to check it out. Although I never have.
All autonomous units. Except that
Oh my god. The Combine's on the move.
Yes, and they carry Shu-Ulathoi, advisors still in incubation pods. They gather and unite the scattered Combine forces.
So that's what we saw in the Citadel. They're sure in a hurry.
They move north with great purpose.
North? White Forest! We have to get there ahead of them.
I know of humans with a vehicle not far from here. They will understand our urgent need.
What are we waiting for?
We tried several different ways of showing the advisor traveling with the Combine forces. We started off with an advisor pod flying over the troops, much as they flew from the Citadel at the end of Episode 1. However, we didn't want to give the impression that those pods were anything but emergency escape units. They were not meant to be self-powered flying crafts that could be piloted around in future episodes. We ended up with the solution you see here. APCs are pulling a structure holding an inert advisor pod. This lets the player study the advisors at different points in their life cycle. They see the main stages of the advisor's metamorphosis, from harmless larvae into powerful and highly mobile monsters.
Sometimes very small changes can make a big difference. Originally, these troops all marched in lockstep, using the same walk animation. This looked extremely robotic. We took a second walk animation that had been done for this troop skeleton, a more upright casual walk, and programmed each soldier to randomly blend between the two walk cycles as he crossed the bridge. This 30-minute change made a huge difference in the scene.
Most of our dramatic scenes are constrained in such a way that the player can't progress until the scene is over. For example, there might be a gate that only Alex or a Vortigaunt can open. In this scene, where the Vortigaunt and Alex first see the Combine marching on White Forest, we simply placed a few barrels to block the way while Alex and the Vortigaunt speak. With just this slight impediment, every playtester stayed and watched the scene as intended, so no explicit gate was needed.
Come on, sir, no. Like, able to get through? I didn't move anything. Look at the board gun. It looked like it was stuck.
Alex's model underwent some upgrades for Episode 2. We added 2 new holes to her jacket, courtesy of a hunter, and dirtied her texture up a bit to show wear and tear. We also increased her polygon count, and to help with her jacket, we added shoulder blades to her back so that it flexes better when she lifts her arms. Additionally, we reconnected her belt so that instead of being rigidly attached, it now flexes and slides around more. A lot of this stuff you won't even notice. It'll just look right. Yeah, that's Alex. She's wearing a jacket. You wouldn't even think about it. It's easy to have the computer draw something stiff and awkward, but doing that pulls you out of the game. You stop believing in the characters. They just become icons. Our goal is to make our characters simply look natural, but to do that requires lots and lots of work and tons of new technology. The irony is, if we've done our job, you won't even notice. It'll just look right.
Oh, Marlene in The Last of Us? I can envision it now.
Major fracture detected.
What? Okay.
This vista is one of the largest open outdoor areas we've tackled in our games. When rendering such an area in real time, it's necessary to use various level of detail techniques made available to us by the Source engine. For example, the distant foliage and Combine enemies are rendered with far fewer polygons than they would be if they were meant to be viewed up close. Additionally, the organic shapes used to model the rocky outcroppings and valley floor below use complex shading operations to combine a relatively modest amount of texture data. This trade-off, which requires a manageable amount of texture data, allows us to use more polygons, enabling us to represent more organic shapes which are in contrast to the orthogonal forms common to our traditional urban environments.
I don't know how much, but he's definitely got an attitude, though. Shot in being in the elevator.
Shelter near the repellent device. Galala.
Make a break for the thumper, Gordon. I'll follow you.
67 damage. It seemed like a lot.
The humans have their...
This scenario required significant changes to the Antlion Guard behavior. Players of past games were used to dealing with only one guard in a confined space and without anywhere to hide. In this scenario, the player had a safe zone, but couldn't remain there to accomplish their goals. One change we made to the guards was in altering how they throw objects at the player. Originally, they shoved objects directly toward the player at high speeds. These objects were really hard to dodge, and if you weren't paying complete attention, you could easily be blindsided and killed. The guards now hurl objects along an arcing trajectory, which not only gives the player a greater opportunity to dodge, but looks awesome. The player gets to see the guard launch a car from 100 feet away, then step aside just as it crashes to the ground where they were standing.
Look at that ace.
Some testers had trouble realizing when they were doing damage to the antlion guards, so we've added a bleeding effect that grows more serious as the guards' hit points decline. This kind of visual feedback makes more intuitive sense to the players. It suits the biological nature of the creature and frees us from having to rely upon spoken explanations of gameplay.
We wanted to create a tension between Gordon and the Antlion Guardians that would develop over several levels and only resolve out here in the open. In order to differentiate this Guardian from the others the player had encountered throughout Half-Life 2 and Episode 1, we changed his texture to a glowing green. This gave the player the satisfaction of revenging himself on the creature that had chased him through the underground lair.
Yeah, but that was kind of justified. We're squishing all the grunts in. It's extract. Team, where are you? They're just chilling over here.
Allow. And this time you may kill it without consequence.
Nice work, Gordon. Sorry I couldn't be more help. I'm still a little weak.
Typical.
Well done, Freeman. Freeman, you dispatched those guards with great dispatch. Come now. The vehicle we seek is in the encampment above. Yes, whoa.
Alright, and I got some bad news. Like, I'm on instant stream once I get up here. I'll leave enough content for tomorrow, or I think I'll do the next stream.
This lift will carry us to where the vehicle awaits.
More grubs. I didn't see the achievement pop up. I think we're done with the grubs.
Looks like the elevator's stuck up there.
Rip. Okay. Let's see. Did I get it? It's not showing up still. Next playthrough then. I don't see it. I thought I looked everywhere, so. Oh no. Where's the gnome? Where's the gnome? Gotta be around here somewhere. Freaking border got kicked him or something. Oh wow. He ended up over here. Did I put him there? Okay, just totally green part of it then. So let's get held up by a splinter. Oh well, that works.
Thanks, Gordon.
No!
The sentries
no.
should have spotted us by now.
You think the Combine found them?
Such a theory is hardly far-fetched.
What? You're pushing me. At least we'll get room for him. It's too crowded that time.
The Combine found them all right.
But came to no good end themselves. Head crabs have had their way with both parties.
Hey, look! Out on that bridge. I think I see the car you were talking about.
It appears they attempted an escape, but made it no farther than the abyss.
Well, if they got it over there, maybe we can jump it back to this side.
We recommend the Freeman for this task.
Hey, I'm feeling a lot better.
That condition will not last long if you plunge into the toxins below. We would do well to lend our protection from above, while Freeman skirts the hazards in the pit. This mounted gun may prove useful. The gun would appear to be powerless. Go, Freeman. I will look after the Alex Vance.
Well, Gordon, I guess it's all up to you.
Done.
Here, I'll get this field down. Good luck, Gordon.
Dun, dun, dun.
Careful now.
So I think what I'll do is leave the gnome here. Extreme. Go get the car. And I think I can get back into here. Worst case scenario, I'll just do that scene again with the gnome. So Hopefully he stays safe in that corner. I don't know if it's going to gate us. I think it's going to let them through. Because I think I opened it over here or something. Anyway, we'll see next stream. Alright, thanks all for coming. Sorry it's a little short again. Try and start a little bit earlier tomorrow. And I should be able to finish the game. And then start something else this weekend. I have a few options that I'll consider. So yeah, take care.